I once thought he was my protector, but in that moment, he revealed his true face. He kidnapped me and admitted that he was behind all the attacks. Chapter 50 Rogue Attack. Adelina SBOV, the journey back to my pack was long and exhausting. By the time I finally arrived, the clock had just struck 10 in the morning. My limbs ached with fatigue, but I parked the jeep and headed straight to my bedroom, eager to shake off the weariness of the trip. After a quick shower and a fresh change of clothes, I made my way to my office. As I stepped inside, I spotted Jacob perched comfortably at my desk, his fingers flying over the keys of his laptop. "Good morning, Jacob," I greeted him, my voice still carrying a trace of the journey's fatigue. He looked up, startled for a moment, then sprang to his feet like a guilty child caught red-handed. I gestured for him to sit back down at once as though I minded him using my desk, but he ignored the signal and busied himself gathering his things instead. "Good morning. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing enthusiasm." "Welcome back," he said with a bright smile. "How was the coronation? Did you enjoy yourself?" I gave him a dry look as I stepped further into the room. "I wouldn't say that." Jacob's brows furrowed in confusion. "Why not? It was the king's coronation. For goodness sake. Surely there was plenty of food, music, and fanfare. How could you not have had a great time?" "I know I would have." "Of course you would," I replied with a faint smirk. "But you and I are nothing alike." It was no different than every other social gathering, tedious and absolutely boring. I paused, glancing at the stack of papers on the corner of my desk. "Everything all right here while I was gone?" "The usual," Jacob began, his tone steady as he closed his laptop and collected his things. "The new contracts were signed by most Elphys and have been sent back. Some rogues entered our territory early this morning, but we managed to restrain them. We've received new applications from other pack members seeking to join us again 20 just yesterday." He moved toward the door, balancing his laptop under one arm. "Oh, I almost forgot. Your brother wants to talk to you." I groaned, pinching the bridge of my nose. What does he want now? I'm sick and tired of his unreasonable demands. I wonder what story HE's cooked up this time. Jacob hesitated, gripping the door handle. He said it was something very important. "Yeah. Important. Just like last time when he said he needed an aloe vera mattress." I retorted, shaking my head. "I'm sure it can wait. Maybe I'll pay him a visit next week." Jacob gave me a knowing smirk but didn't press further. "Very well. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing enthusiasm." "I'll leave you to it," he said before exiting the office. I slumped into my chair and let out a deep sigh. After an hour of working on my laptop, the monotonous rhythm of typing was interrupted by a knock. A guard entered silently, carrying a bouquet of white roses. Without a word, he set them on my desk and left. White roses, my favorite. I leaned forward, inspecting the elegant bouquet. Tucked within the blooms was a small card. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing enthusiasm." I slid it out and read the message. "No matter how many times you ignore me, your memory will never cease to occupy my mind. The smell of your body, your kisses, and the warmth of your heart have been engraved deep in my soul. I will always be waiting for you." And my wolf stirred immediately. "He sent us flowers even after you told him you were Nicholas's girlfriend," she pointed out. "I didn't tell him anything." I snapped back internally. That was Nicholas's doing. The old Maximus is back. Achius trying to keep what he believes is his. Give him a chance. My wolf urged. "Can't you see? Our mate loves us. Call him back and thank him." I rolled my eyes. "It's just some silly flowers. Don't make this a big deal. He probably sent bouquets to every alpha who attended the coronation as a courtesy. Even if that's true, this isn't the first time HE has sent you flowers or gifts. You should at least acknowledge it." I don't think HES after my gratitude, I muttered, tossing the card onto the desk. Are you blind? Didn't you see what he wrote? His feelings are obvious. Yeah, sure, I said dismissively, pulling a stack of files toward me. In not calling him back. End of discussion. 2 hours passed, and I hadn't even made it halfway through the paperwork. And Omega arrived with lunch. And though I usually preferred eating at the Pact's restaurant, I couldn't spare the time today. I ate quickly at my desk and dove back into work. By the time evening came, I was utterly spent. After finishing a few more files, I decided to call it a day. I retreated to my bedroom, took a quick bath, and collapsed into bed. Sleep came quickly, pulling me into its depths, but my rest was short-lived. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Please open the door. A frantic voice pierced the night, jolting me awake. I groaned, rubbing the sleep from my eyes. Throwing on a robe, I stormed toward the door, irritation brewing within me. The Omega on the other side looked pale and anxious. What is all this fuss about? I barked, my voice laced with frustration. I'm so sorry for waking you. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. She stammered, her words tumbling over one another. But there's a problem. I spit it out. I snapped, losing patience. The southern borders, she finally managed. They're under attack. What? My blood ran cold. Why are you telling me this? Where is Jacob? Beta Jacob is already at the southern border. She explained hurriedly. He couldn't reach you through the mind link and sent me to inform you. Do you know if they've stopped the attack? I'm sorry. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I don't have any other information. Bowing her head. You're dismissed. Thank you. The Omega nodded and scurried away as I slammed the door shut. Immediately, I linked Jacob. What's the situation? It's bad, he replied, his voice strained. We managed to stop the attack, but the battle was fierce. There were several casualties. These rogues were highly trained, and they had advanced equipment guns. I clenched my fists. Damn it. This is just like the attack where Maximus was injured. Who's behind this? Mario Lupo is dead. Could he have had accomplices? Jacob hesitated. Maybe it's Andre, our southern neighbor. Achius always wanted to expand his territory. No, I interrupted firmly. Andre signed a peace treaty with us. There's no logic in him attacking. This has to be someone else. I'll keep investigating, Jacob said before ending the link. Frustration burned through me as I dressed quickly. I was halfway down the stairs when I ran into Aidan. My gamma. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Where are you going? Aidan, my gamma, asked as I strode past him. To the southern borders. Aidan, we were attacked there. I replied curtly, not breaking my stride. I know. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. But with all due respect, you shouldn't go. It's not a place for a woman, he said firmly. I stopped dead in my tracks and turned to him, my eyes narrowing. What did you just say? My voice was low. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Aidan hesitated but didn't back down. I mean no offense. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. But it's for your own good. I folded my arms, my irritation flaring. Would you say the same thing if I were a man? Certainly not. To my agent extraordinaire, mythical, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He replied, his tone incredulous as though the answer was obvious. I took a step closer, my gaze locked on his. Then don't ever say it again. I am not just a woman, I am the alpha of this pack, and I will go wherever my pack needs me. Is that clear? His jaw tightened, and he nodded reluctantly. Yes, alpha. And another thing, I continued, my voice sharp. The sight of carnage is hard on any one man or woman. Thank you for your concern, but I am not as fragile as you think. Now go. Ensure all the injured are taken to the hospital, and have the corpses collected and buried with dignity. Understood? Yes, Alpha. Anything else? No, you're dismissed. Aiden bowed and turned to leave, but I stopped him again. Wait. He paused, turning back to face me. Yes, Alpha. Is my father aware of the situation? No, he isn't. Would you like me to inform him? No, I replied after a moment of thought. Let's not trouble him yet. I'll inform him once we have more information. Is that clear? Yes. To my agent extraordinaire, mythical, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Good. You're dismissed. Then bowed again and left without another word. I headed to the parking lot, climbed into my renegade jeep, and started the engine. The drive to the southern borders was quick, but the sight that greeted me when I arrived was devastating. Bodies were scattered across the ground like broken dolls. The fence was nothing but twisted metal, and the outposts had been reduced to rubble. The landscape resembled a war-zone shard, and lifeless. Jacob was at the center of it all, barking orders to the guards. I immediately linked Haydan. Send as many Omgazer as possible to the southern border with tools. The fence is our top priority. On it. To my agent extraordinaire, mythical, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Aidan replied. Some guards were already rebuilding the outposts, while others worked on patching up the fence. Jacob handled the situation well, so I left him in charge and drove straight to the hospital to check on the injured. The hospital was in chaos. Doctors and nurses hurried through the corridors, pushing stretchers and carrying medical supplies. The sharp scent of antiseptic and blood filled the air, and the tension was palpable. This was the work of mere rogues. No group of rogues could be this well trained, this well equipped. They had guns, high-tech weapons with silver bullets. These weren't mindless scavengers, they were something else entirely. Mercenaries. Someone had hired them, orchestrated this attack. But who? And why? What would anyone gain from targeting us? We may be a small pack, but we've been growing rapidly. My wolf interjected. And don't forget, you're either mate of the king. I don't think this has anything to do with Maximus. I told her, dismissing the thought. But the truth was, I was so sure. I reached the hospital manager's office, and he filled me in on the grim details. 50 wolves had been hospitalized. 20 were in critical condition, having been shot with silver bullets. Their prognosis was uncertain. Silver bullets were a death sentence for many werewolves. The weight of the situation settled heavily on my shoulders as I left the office, but as I stepped into the hallway, I was met with an unexpected sight. He was sitting in one of the waiting chairs, his posture tense and his face drawn with worry. As soon as he saw me, he stood abruptly and strode toward me. He said, his voice thick with emotion, and before I could respond, he pulled me into a tight embrace. For a moment, I stood frozen, unsure how to react. Then I returned the hug, if only to offer a small piece of comfort. What are you doing here? I asked softly, pulling back slightly to meet his eyes. I've called you many times without managing to find you, Nicola said, his voice tinged with worry. I got so concerned that I ended up calling your father. She is the one who informed me about the attack. How are things here? I studied his face, searching for any hint of deception. Oh, I see. Worse than we've seen in a long time. They weren't ordinary rogues. Someone's behind this. He sat down beside me, his expression growing serious. You seem lost in thought. Is something bothering you? I glanced at him, debating whether to voice my concerns. He seemed genuine worried. Even but the nagging doubt planted by my wolf refused to fade. In jest, thinking about the attack, I said carefully, it doesn't make sense. Why would anyone target us? We're a small pack, and we've signed treaties with all the neighboring alphas. There's no logical reason for this. Nicholas nodded slowly, his brow furrowed. You're right. It's suspicious. If you do like, I can have my men investigate discreetly. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I studied him, his offer generous but unexpected. That's kind of you, but this is my Pact's responsibility. You'll handle it. Still, the offer stands. His tone firm. Thank you, I said again, forcing a small smile. When and where did the attack happen? At midnight. On our borders. Where were you? Unfortunately, I was in bed. I admitted, my frustration bubbling to the surface. I had a difficult day and went to sleep early. Thank goddess you weren't at the southern borders. His relief palpable. You must be hungry. Let me get you something to eat. A coffee would be nice. Thank you. He nodded and turned toward the hospital coffee stand. As I watched him walk away, my wolf began pacing in my mind. Her agitation clear. Southern borders. You didn't mention where the attack took place. How did he know? Probably he learned it from my father, I replied, brushing off her concern. Yes, lying. Don't you see? How could your father have told him about the attack? He doesn't even know yet. Her words gave me pause. My father was aware of the situation and explicitly and not to tell him until we had more information. Could Nicholas be lying? Probably that Aid and I reasoned. He likes to defy my orders. He must have informed my father about the attack while I was at the borders or here at the hospital. I don't think so. My wolf pressed, her voice sharp. No one would dare risk disobeying you. Especially not Gamma Aid, and there's only one way to know for sure. Mind. Link your father immediately and ask him. I hesitated. The possibility that Nicholas could be withholding something gnawed at me, but I wasn't ready to confront it outright. It was probably Aiden. I insisted, trying to convince myself as much as my wolf. You saw his demeanor earlier. He was practically begging to get on my nerves. I'm sure HES the one who spilled the information. You're avoiding the truth. She shot back. Something doesn't add up. Don't dismiss this. The weight of everything pressing down on me. I have more important things to deal with than gossip or speculation right now. I'll talk to my father later if it's necessary. Can we focus on what matters? Do it now, my wolf demanded. Her voice sharper than before. Stop bothering me. I told you I have more important things to handle. I scolded her, frustrated, as I wrestled with her incessant nagging. Nicholas appeared, holding two steaming coffees and a donut. Without asking, he gently took my hand, leading me to a seat nearby. His presence was warm, yet the intensity of his gestures added to my growing unease. He placed the coffee and donut in front of me. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He said softly, Thank you, but I'll just take the coffee, I replied, attempting to sidestep his thoughtful gesture. You can have the donut. Not a chance, he said with a teasing smile. You need to eat. I'm pretty sure you haven't had anything since yesterday. His words startled me. How do you know that? He leaned forward, his gaze unwavering. I make it my priority to stay well, informed about the things and people that matter to me. His intense stare made me feel exposed. So I looked away, uncomfortable. To deflect, I picked up the donut and took a tentative bite. The sugary sweetness melted on my tongue. and I couldn't help but admit it was delicious. So I began, eager to shift the focus. "How was your trip? You must be exhausted." "Don't worry about me," he replied, brushing off my concern. His voice softened. "I'm just relieved I found you safe and sound." Before I could respond, he took my hand again and kissed it gently. The unexpected intimacy set my heart racing, not with joy, but with discomfort. "There was no need for you to come all this way," I said quickly, putting my hand back. "I couldn't leave you alone in such a difficult situation," he replied, a hint of irritation creeping into his tone. "I'm not alone," I countered. "My family, my friends, my pack, they're all here to support me." As I spoke, I tried to focus on the donut, biting into it as a way to distract myself. He chuckled lightly, though his smile didn't quite reach his eyes. "Are you trying to tell me, in your own way, that I'm not needed here?" No, of course not. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Almost choking on the last bite of donut. "I just don't want to burden you with my problems, Adelina," he said firmly, his gaze locking with mine. "Your problems are my problems too." Caught off guard, I fumbled for a response. "I'm just going to wash my hands." Without waiting for a reply, I stood and headed for the bathroom, needing space to think. Once I was alone, I leaned against the cold bathroom wall, my mind racing. Nicholas' words played on a loop, and I couldn't shake the tension building inside me. His words, they all pointed to something I wasn't ready to face. "He wants more than friendship," my wolf whispered knowingly. I sighed heavily. "And I can't give him more. I have responsibilities to my pack. Romance isn't something I can entertain right now or maybe ever." When I returned, Nicholas was still waiting, his smile broadening as I approached. "I need to head back to the southern borders," I announced, trying to keep my tone professional. "I need to check the progress on the fence repairs." "I'm coming with you," he said immediately, standing as though he'd been waiting for this exact moment. "No," I said quickly, shaking my head. "There's no need for you to come with me. I've arranged a room for you at the pack house. You can go there and rest." His smile faltered, replaced by a look of quiet disappointment. "Are you pushing me away?" he asked softly, his voice tinged with hurt. "No, I'm not." His words tangled in my throat. He was strong. I was pushing him away. He studied me for a moment before his expression softened. "Adelina, I can see my behavior is making you uncomfortable. I don't want to do that. I've decided not to push you anymore. Whatever you're willing to give me, I'll accept it, even if it's just friendship." His sincerity caught me off guard. "But please," he continued, "don't shut me out completely. Let me come with you. I won't flirt or cross any lines." The guilt hit me like a wave. He was trying so hard to respect my boundaries, and yet here I was, treating him coldly. "Okay," I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. "You can come." His face lit up, but he kept his promise, simply following me as I turned toward the exit. As we walked, his earlier words replayed in my mind. "I've decided not to push you anymore. Whatever you're willing to give me, I'll accept it." For the first time, I wondered if it'd been too quick to judge him. Maybe it'd been unfair, letting my discomfort cloud my perspective. I still couldn't give him what he wanted, but perhaps I owed him the benefit of the doubt and a chance to prove himself. My wolf grumbled but fell silent, though her unease lingered in the back of my mind. Chapter 51. No more pretending. Maximus POV. After enduring a long, tedious meeting, I finally made my way back to my office. I hated meetings, nothing but endless noise with little to no productive outcome. Frustrated, I slumped into my chair and immediately mined, "Linked Edward. My Delta. Did you send the flowers I asked for?" "Yes, Alpha. They were delivered hours ago," he replied confidently. Hours ago? Why hadn't she called to thank me? Was I truly so unwanted in her eyes? Maybe she didn't get them yet. Call her and check. Oh, and ask her if she liked them. My wolf, Vaco, suggested eagerly. You know, that's actually a good idea. I muttered aloud. All my ideas are excellent. Vaco replied smugly. Rolling my eyes, I picked up my phone, ready to call her. But before I could dial, Demetrio, my gamma, burst through the door without so much as knocking. What the hell are you doing? Glaring at him. It was like Demetrio to break protocol. Something serious must have happened. I'm sorry. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. His tone urgent, but I needed to see you immediately. It's important. Then speak. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Leaning forward, already bracing myself for bad news. We've been receiving reports multiple packs are being attacked by rogues. My eyes narrowed. How many? 20 so far. He answered grimly. 20. The word felt heavy in my mouth. When did these attacks start? Were they coordinated? They began last night at midnight. And yes, all the reports indicate they happened simultaneously. I clenched my fists. As I suspected. This isn't some random rogue uprising. This is calculated. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. My mind raced as I tried to piece together the motive behind such an attack. Whoever is behind this has resources. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And wealth. We're dealing with something far bigger than rogues. Make me a list of all the affected packs, the casualties, and the damages. Then contact the attacked alphas. I want full reports, every detail, every shred of evidence they've gathered. Do you understand? Yes. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. But he didn't move. He stood there stiffly, staring at me like he wanted to say more but didn't know how. Then why are you still here? I snapped, my voice rising. Go. I want this on my desk within the hour. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He said hesitantly, there's something else. I leaned back, trying to rein in my impatience. Does it concern the rogue attacks? It might, he admitted, then stopped stalling and spit it out. Do you remember your order to keep in the investigation into the organization calling themselves the New Order? Yes. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. What of it? We've uncovered new evidence, he said carefully, watching my reaction. It implicates someone we all know, someone previously beyond suspicion. My eyes narrowed further. Poitiers not from our pack, Demetrio said cautiously. Then why are you wasting my time? Send the evidence to his Alpha and notify the council. Alpha, he interjected, his tone grave. The person in question is very close to our Luna. Is he from her pack? No, Alpha. Then who is it? My patience was wearing thin. Tell me, for goodness sake. He took a deep breath. It's Nicholas, the Alpha of the Winterwoods pack. The name sent a jolt through me. I repeated, my voice a mix of disbelief and triumph. Yes, Alpha. The evidence is solid. Demetrio confirmed. I leaned back in my chair, a satisfied smirk forming on my lips. I knew it. I knew he was hiding something. It's just been too perfect, too convenient. The truth comes out. There's more, Demetrio said, his tone darkening. What now? I asked sharply, the triumphant feeling evaporating. Crescent Moon Pack was attacked last night as well, he said carefully. I stiffened and Nicholas is already there, with our Luna. The words hit me like a slap. My heart raced as dread took hold. You're telling me this now? Why wasn't I informed immediately? How is she? I interrupted, my voice steady. Is Audine injured? She's safe, Demetrio assured me quickly. I shot to my feet. Don't tell me anything else. Prepare the jet. We're leaving for Crescent Moon immediately. Yes. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm, Demetrio said, bowing before rushing out of the office. As the door slammed shut, I took a deep breath, trying to suppress the torrent of emotions rising within me. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And something else, something darker warred for control. Drive AKO growled low in my mind. HES too close to her. I don't trust him. Neither do I. But this was just about trust or suspicion. This was about her safety, my Luna's safety. And I wouldn't rest until I knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that she was unharmed. I grabbed my coat, already halfway out the door. Whatever was happening at Crescent Moon, I was going to get to the bottom of it, and Nicholas wouldn't be leaving my sight. During the flight to the Crescent Moon Pack, my nerves were stretched thin, and Drive AKO wasn't helping. He was pacing in my mind like a caged beast, restless and agitated. Every passing minute felt like an eternity. Chris was handling the rogue attacks on the other packs and sending me updates every hour. Still, my focus wasn't on those. My thoughts were consumed by one thing, Adelina. I couldn't shake the feeling that Nicholas was behind these coordinated attacks. The timing, the scale, it all pointed to him. I should have watched him more closely, should have trusted my instincts instead of giving him the benefit of the doubt. I had failed once again. The thought of Adelina in his presence made my stomach churn. I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms. How could I have been so careless? How could I let her go, knowing full well the dangers she might face? I should have fought harder. Draco's voice broke through my spiraling thoughts. You let your pride stop you from doing what your heart told you to do. You thought she'd be safer if you kept your distance. Look where that's gotten us. I know, I muttered back bitterly. I'll fix it. You do better, because if anything happens to her, Drive AKO growled, leaving the rest of his threat unspoken. The air stewardess's voice snapped me out of my thoughts. My king, we've reached Crescent Moon's airport. We'll be landing in a few minutes. Thank you, Tessa, I replied curtly, already buckling my seatbelt as the jet began its descent. The moment the plane door opened, I stepped out into the brisk morning air. A black SUV was waiting on the tarmac. Without a word, I climbed in, and we sped off toward the Crescent Moon Pack house. As we pulled up and I stepped out, the guards froze the moment they recognized me. Their wider eyes and panicked whispers were almost amusing, but I had no time for formalities. Within seconds, Aidan, Adelina Escama, to my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Welcome, my king. Bowing low. Where is she? I asked sharply, skipping any pleasantries. She's at the hospital, attending to the injured. He replied quickly. She should be returning to the pack house soon. We've prepared the royal suite for you if you'd like to rest. I'm not here to rest, I interrupted. My voice was cold, and Aidan's shoulders stiffened. Take me to the hospital. Without waiting for a response, I got back into the SUV. The driver barely had time to climb in before I barked. When we arrived at the hospital, I didn't waste a second. I strode straight to the reception desk. The staff and visitors parting before me like waves before a storm. The receptionist looked up, her eyes widening in shock. Oh my goddess. My king Maximus Drive AKO. Good morning, my king. What an honor to have you here. Welcome to our hospital. She shot up from her seat, bowing deeply. I don't have time for this, I said flatly. Where's Adelina? Alfie Adelina? She stammered. Of course, I snapped, my patience wearing thin. She just left a few minutes ago after visiting the injured. Your Highness, she managed to say. Draco's voice rumbled in my head. Our mate, tending to the wounded, even after a battle. She's a true queen, worthy of us in every way. I couldn't disagree, but I ignored him and turned my attention back to the receptionist. Do you know where she went? Before the woman could respond, another nurse chimed in from behind the counter. I heard her telling the Alpha of the Winterwoods pack that she was going to the southern borders to check fangs. My heart dropped. Nicholas is with her. I think that's his name. My king, the nurse said, smiling as if she were giving me good news. I didn't wait to hear more. My mind was racing, my body moving on autopilot as I bolted back to the SUV. My driver looked startled as I practically threw myself into the back seat. To the southern borders. Now the car roared to life, and we sped off. I gripped the seat tightly, my knuckles white. She's with him. Drive ache, K.O. growled, his voice low and dangerous. I know. Achia's planning something, I can feel it. So can I. The southern borders weren't far, but every mile felt like agony. My mind raced with worst-case scenarios. What if I was too late? What if Nicholas had already done something to hurt her? What if no? I told myself firmly. She can handle herself. But she shouldn't have to. Drive AKO snarled. That's your job. And you failed her. I clenched my teeth, my chest tightening. I couldn't let fear control me now. I had to focus. I had to get to her. As the SUV tore down the road, I prayed to the goddess that I was too late. Adelina SPOV. I headed toward my jeep, ready to slide into the driver's seat when Nicholas suddenly stepped forward. I'll drive. His tone firm yet casual. Normally, I never let anyone else drive my car. It felt too personal, too much like surrendering control. But as I stood there, a wave of exhaustion washed over me. The sleepless night was catching up to me, and my body ached for rest. Reluctantly, I tossed him the keys. Fine, I muttered, climbing into the passenger seat. We hadn't been on the road for more than 10 minutes when an overwhelming drowsiness began to pull at me. My eyelids felt heavy, as if weighted by lead. I tried to fight it, opening the window for fresh air, shifting in my seat, but it was no use. Darkness crept in at the edges of my vision, and before I knew it, everything went black. When I woke, my head was pounding, and the world around me was eerily still. I blinked, trying to focus, only to realize that my hands were bound tightly in front of me. Panic surged through me as I looked around. I was still in the passenger seat of my jeep. But something was wrong. Very wrong. What happened? My heart raced as questions flooded my mind. Did the mercenaries find us? Were we ambushed? But where were they? Where was Nicholas? My voice hoarse and trembling. There was no answer. I tried again, louder this time. Can you hear me? Still nothing. The silence was deafening, and fear gnawed at the edges of my resolve. Had they taken him? Killed him? My chest tightened at the thought. Desperate, I glanced around the interior of the jeep, hoping to find anything that could help me. My bag was on the floor, just out of reach. I strained against the restraints, stretching as far as I could, but it was useless. Frustration and fear mixed into a volatile cocktail inside me. Looking out the window, I realized we were in the middle of a dense forest. The towering trees stretched high above, their twisted branches blotting out the sky. The thick underbrush made it impossible to tell where we were. I had no sense of direction, no landmarks to guide me. Minutes felt like hours as I sat there, helpless. My pulse quickened when I caught a flicker of movement in the rearview mirror. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. My breath hitching as I focused on the dark figure approaching from a distance. My hands clenched instinctively, the rope biting into my skin. The figure was moving steadily closer, and my heart pounded louder with each step they took. Who was it? My mind raced through the possibilities. Was it one of the mercenaries? Had they come back to finish whatever they started? Or worse, was it someone new? The figure drew closer, their features still obscured by the dim light filtering through the forest canopy. My stomach churned as fear gripped me. I knew the chances of being rescued were slim, but I couldn't stop myself from clinging to the faint hope that this was the end. As the men approached, I could make out more details: the broad shoulders, the confident stride. My heart leapt to my throat. It was Nicholas. Relief flooded me, overwhelming and all-consuming. Tears pricked at the corners of my eyes as I called out his name. He didn't respond immediately, but the sight of him was enough to send a rush of hope coursing through my veins. "Nicholas," I shouted again, my voice cracking under the weight of my emotions. This time, his head turned in my direction, and our eyes met. A wave of gratitude and joy swept over me. He was alive. He was here. For the first time since I woke, I allowed myself to believe that everything might be okay. "Nicholas, over here. Please. I'm tied up. Help me." My voice rising with panic. Nicholas approached with quick, determined steps, and my heart leapt. My salvation is coming, I thought desperately. He'll untie me, and in a few minutes, well, be gone. But to my horror, he stopped just a few feet away, his expression cold, his lips curling into a tight, angry line. "Shut the fuck up." His voice low and menacing. "Do you want someone to hear you?" Confusion swirled in my head. "But what are you talking about?" "Please untie me," I begged, struggling against the ropes, fear creeping into my chest. He rolled his eyes, the sardonic smirk on his face only deepening my dread. "Are you fucking crazy?" His tone dripping with disdain. "Do you really expect me to untie you?" My heart dropped. I stared at him, unable to comprehend the change. What are you saying?" I stammered, my voice barely above a whisper. "Are you an idiot?" He looked at me like I was the foolish one. "I was the one who tied you up in the first place." His words hit me like a slap, each one colder than the last. Why? The word came out weak, more of a plea than a question. His behavior was completely unrecognizable. Nicholas had always been kind, a protector, but now he was something else entirely. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And a dangerous one at that. Because lately, you haven't been doing what I want." His eyes flashing with anger. He seemed to forget that I'm the one who rescued you. "You owe me everything." I recoiled, my chest tight with shock and disbelief. "How could I forget? I know, and I appreciate everything you've done for me. I'll be eternally grateful, but what else do you want from me?" "Really now? You're seriously asking me that? A few hours ago, you had the nerve to reject me." His voice was thick with resentment, each word cutting deeper than the last. "I've never rejected you. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." My voice cracking with frustration. "Ungrateful, but I can't give you anything more than my friendship. Nothing more, nothing less." His gaze hardened, his jaw tightening. "Friendship," he scoffed bitterly. "You think that's enough? After everything I've done for you? After I've taken care of everything?" I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to steady my racing heart. "Nicholas, please. In telling you the truth, I can't offer you anything else. I won't lie to you, but I won't pretend. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." For a moment, He was silent. Then, his eyes darkened, a twisted smile playing on his lips. "Do you really think I brought you here and tied you up because you rejected me?" His voice was dripping with mockery. "You're so stupid. I brought you here because I cowered and let you ruin my plans." "Plans?" I whispered, trying to steady my breathing. "What plans?" He laughed. A low, sinister sound that chilled me to the bone. "You're beautiful. But damn, you're stupid," he said with a sneer. "I'm the one behind all the attacks. Every single one of them." The words hit me like a thunderclap. I blinked, trying to process his admission. All the attacks? Were there others? My voice shaking with disbelief. "Of course." As though it was the most obvious thing in the world. "Did you really think it was just your pack I was after?" "No, to attack every day, one pack at a time. Soon, this kingdom will be nothing but a ruin, and Maxim's reign will be over. When my plan is complete, all the alphas will hate him, and they'll run to me for protection." "Why?" My voice barely a whisper, the weight of his words crushing me. He looked at me as if I were a fool. "Because I want to be king. What else? I gave you the opportunity to be by my side, and you turned me down so arrogantly." A sick feeling settled in my stomach. "Why does everyone in this organization lose their mind?" My wolf muttered, her voice filled with disgust. I cowed and agreed more. "I didn't do it out of arrogance. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Trying to stay calm. "I just want to be honest with you. That's all. I never wanted to hurt you." "Shut up." His voice venomous. "You really think you'll just sit back and watch you flirt with Maximus? Or worse, see you go back to him? You're wrong. As long as I can't have you, no one will." I recoiled, horrified. "Don't go crazy. There are other ways to solve this. You don't have to kidnap me." "Who said I wanted to kidnap you?" His eyes gleamed with malice. "I brought you here to kill you." The blood drained from my face. "What?" I whispered, struggling against the ropes in a futile attempt to escape. "Have you completely lost your mind? You're going to kill me because I didn't respond to your feelings." He chuckled darkly, leaning in closer. "Don't flatter yourself. That's not the only reason. Can't you see? You're just a problem for me now. All these deals you're making with other alphas, all the financial plans you're pushing, it's all against my interests." I stared at him, my heart sinking into my stomach. "If that's the problem, I promise I'll cancel anything that doesn't favor you. I'll fix it." He laughed again, the sound hollow and cold. "It doesn't matter anymore. Even if you cancel them all, I know you'll make new ones in the future." "I won't. I swear." I pleaded, desperation leaking into my voice. He stared at me for a long moment, his gaze piercing, before he started laughing. The sound was cruel, mocking, and it made my blood run cold. "Do you think him a fool?" Nicholas sneered, his voice thick with contempt. "Don't make promises you know you can't keep, Adelina." His tone dripping with malice. He stepped closer to the jeep, his eyes never leaving mine. Before I could react, he leaned in, his breath hot against the cold window. I froze for a split second as he closed the distance between us, his lips crashing onto mine. The kiss was forceful, and filled me with a disgust that made my stomach churn. I recoiled instinctively, but he held me tightly, his grip like iron around my shoulders. Panic surged through me, and I knew I had to act quickly. In a desperate move, I bit down hard on his lip, feeling the shock of the flesh between my teeth. His reaction was immediate, a guttural snarl escaping him as he jerked back, blood trickling from the wound on his lip. "You fucking bitch," he snarled, eyes blazing with fury. He kicked the jeep's door with a violent force, the metal screeching under his boot. With a growl, he ripped the door open and yanked me out by my arm. "Let me go." Thrashing against his grip, I kicked and punched, trying to break free. but his strength was overpowering. His fist collided with my face, sending a sharp, sickening pain through my cheek. I stumbled but didn't relent, swinging my limbs in frantic resistance. With brutal force, he hauled me out of the jeep and onto the ground, his fist landing once more in my stomach. I gasped for air, fury boiling inside me. His grip tightened, and in one swift motion, he hoisted me up onto his shoulders, my face now pressed against his back. I struggled, kicking my legs, trying to wiggle free, but his hold was unyielding. Just as I felt myself slipping into the despair of complete helplessness, I heard it, a loud, bone, rattling roar that pierced through the thick air. My heart skipped a beat, and for the first time since this nightmare began, a glimmer of hope flared inside me. I knew that roar. I knew who it belonged to. Maximus. Tears welled up in my eyes as I held onto that sound like a lifeline. I couldn't have been more relieved. Couldn't have felt more alive. The roar of my protector, my alpha, my mate, echoed through the forest, signaling that he was coming. Maximus was here. Chapter 52. Is it all over? Adelina Espiovi step away from her. Maximus's voice rang out, commanding and full of authority from a distance. Nicholas, still holding me with a grip that felt like iron, smirked cruelly as he slowly turned his head towards Maximus. His tone ripped with sarcasm as he spoke. Your Highness, what an unexpected pleasure, though I didn't anticipate your visit. Allow me to assure you, I'll treat you with the utmost respect, in the best way possible, worthy of a king. But first, allow me to take care of your beautiful mate. His words were calculated and cruel, a venomous undercurrent in his voice. He wanted to provoke Maximus, to show he held the upper hand. Maximus's eyes narrowed, his jaw tightening as he took a step forward. This is between you and me. Let Adelina go. Nicholas's smile only widened, his arrogance radiating. Or else what? His tone mocking. Maximus's voice dropped to a low growl, his patience thinning. Don't mess with me. You know exactly what I'm capable of. Nicholas chuckled darkly, clearly unconcerned. Oh, I'm so terrified right now. His mocking tone barely masked his fear as he stood there, testing Maximus. Maximus stepped forward, his eyes flashing with a dangerous fire. You should be. His voice icy and unwavering. Nicholas took a deep breath, his eyes flicking to the side, then back at Maximus with a sly grin. Don't forget about the council. My king. Maximus's expression remained cold and unyielding. What about it? A chilling calmness in his voice that only served to heighten the tension. You know as well as I do. The council won't look kindly on this. They won't approve of someone taking the law into their own hands. Nicholas stunted, clearly trying to bait Maximus. Maximus's gaze never wavered. Let me worry about the council. Put Adelina down and fight me like a man. Or are you afraid of me? His voice now laced with an unmistakable challenge. At the words, something in Nicholas snapped. His eyes flickered with fury, and he abruptly released me, tossing me to the side as he shifted with a snarl. The air seemed to ripple with tension as his body contorted and twisted, fur sprouting from his skin as he became the wolf. Maximus wasted no time, his own body shifting into his massive black wolf form, his coat shimmering in the fading afternoon light. The transformation was seamless, his power radiating from every muscle. His wolf was a true force of nature, his eyes burning with fury as he scanned his surroundings, searching for any sign of weakness. Nicholas's wolf, smaller and with dull brown fur, stood at the ready, snarling, his teeth bared, but he was no match for Maximus. In an instant, the battle was on. They circled each other, sizing each other up, the ground beneath their paws trembling with every step they took. Maximus's wolf was a beast of unmatched grace and strength. Every movement he made was a calculated strike, every turn a deliberate decision. The power behind his attacks was overwhelming, his speed blinding. Nicholas's wolf, in contrast, was erratic, too quick to attack and not precise enough to land a successful blow. With each failed strike, his frustration mounted, and his movements grew more sloppy. Draco's dominance was undeniable. The massive black wolf surged forward, using his sheer size and speed to avoid Nicholas's wolf's attacks. With a final move, Maximus closed the gap, spinning mid-air, and with precise power, he slammed Nicholas's wolf to the ground. The fight was over in a matter of seconds. Maximus, breathing heavily, stood tall and imposing above Nicholas's defeated wolf, his eyes never leaving his fallen adversary. His voice rang out, full of authority. Shift back. Nicholas now. Nicholas hesitated for a brief moment, his pride fighting against the inevitable. He knew that shifting would strip him of his strength, leaving him vulnerable in front of Maximus, but he had no choice. With a growl, he shifted back into his human form, his clothes tattered from the battle. Maximus stood over him, his gaze unyielding, his voice cold as ice. You lost. Now face the consequences. After shifting back into their human forms, both men were a picture of exhaustion and brutality. Dust clung to their bodies, their muscles slick with sweat and blood, the air thick with the stench of the fight. Nicholas lay on the ground, his body littered with deep wounds and bruises, his breathing ragged. It was clear he had lost a significant amount of blood, his body too weak to even attempt to move. The shift had drained him, leaving him vulnerable and broken. Maximus, on the other hand, though also injured, was still standing tall. His wounds were shallow scratches, cuts, at his impositions, but his impresence remained unshaken. He towered over Nicholas, his form radiating authority, his fury far from spent. Now tell Adelina the whole truth. Tell her. Maximus roared, his voice a mixture of anger and raw emotion, like a storm waiting to break. Despite his obvious exhaustion from the battle, he still had a dangerous fire in his eyes. Nicholas remained silent, his lips tight, defiant despite the blood seeping from his wounds. His refusal to speak only pushed Maximus further into a frenzy. Maximus's fist connected with Nicholas's body, each strike fueled by years of betrayal and rage, each punch punctuated by a curse. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. A demand for the truth. Tell her that you were the one who ordered the attack on my pack, that you orchestrated my poisoning with an arrow. Maximus spat. His voice grew more frantic as he continued. Tell her about the deal you made with Lupo. Tell her about Adelina's imprisonment in her old pack's dungeons, hidden right under our noses. Tell her how you tracked her down like a rat. Maximus's voice broke, his pain clear for the first time. His every word was a strike, each accusation more damning than the last. He was so close to breaking, so close to losing control, and Nicholas's continued silence drove him to the brink. Nicholas was barely able to move, blood pooling beneath him as he lay there, broken. Maximus, still relentless, continued to lash out at him, his fury unrestrained. I couldn't stand to watch any longer. My heart was heavy with regret, but I knew it had to be done. There's no need for him to tell me anything. Max, I said, my voice shaky, but clear, when he confessed that my father had informed him about the attack on my pack. Everything clicked. My wolf knew he rang from the start. It was my fault I didn't listen to her sooner. And now I'm here. Maximus looked at me in disbelief, his expression one of utter shock. You know. His voice laced with confusion. Yes, I nodded solemnly. Please, stop hurting him. Let justice decide his fate. Maximus stood frozen for a moment, his gaze still locked on me, his eyes softening. For a brief second, his rage seemed to fade, replaced by something else, something tender, something raw. He looked at me as if I were the only thing in the world that mattered. His gaze held mine for a heartbeat, and though his emotions were still wild, There was a moment of connection between us. I broke the silence first, my heart full of emotion. I'm so happy you came for me. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. My words full of gratitude and warmth. My smile was wide, full of relief and love. Maximus's lips curled into a smile, and without a second's hesitation, he closed the distance between us. His strong arms enveloped me, pulling me into him, and his lips crashed onto mine with a passion that made my heart race. His kiss was fiery, full of yearning, and I responded willingly, eager to feel him close, to feel the bond that had always existed between us but had never truly been explored. As we kissed, everything else faded away. The world, the danger, it all became irrelevant. In his embrace, I felt safe. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And above all, young loved. It was just the bond between us, it was something deeper. Something that had always been there, just waiting for the right moment. A sense of belonging, of completion, as if we were to have coming together, whole again. The sensation was overwhelming. My skin tingled with every touch, every brush of his lips, and my stomach fluttered with 1,000 butterflies. I had missed him more than I could ever put into words. It wasn't just the desire. It was the connection, the unity that made us one in ways that were beyond physical. It was our souls finding peace in each other. For a moment, we stayed there, lost in each other's arms. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Breathing and reconnecting. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement. Nicholas, weak but determined, was getting up, a menacing look on his face. My heart raced as I saw the silver knife in his hand, the glint of danger in his eyes. Max, watch out. Panic flooding my chest. In an instant, Maximus reacted. He shoved me out of the way, his powerful body twisting to face the threat. I stumbled, crashing to the ground, my head spinning as I struggled to regain my bearings. The world around me was a blur, and I tried to stand, to help, but I couldn't. My limbs felt like lead. Then, a blood-curdling scream pierced the air, followed by the unmistakable sound of a body crumpling to the ground. Darkness crept in at the edges of my vision, and I could feel myself slipping away, my body betraying me. Chapter 53 OP is Lost Maximus BOV. When Adelina's voice reached me, urging me to be careful, I didn't even look at her. I simply pushed her aside, my focus fixed solely on Nicholas. Drive AKO stirred beneath the surface, his anger palpable, and I knew that whatever happened next would not be kind. There was no room for mercy, not with someone like him. He was a beast, ruthless and relentless, and I was every bit the same in this moment. I could feel the power surge through me as my claws emerged, sharp as daggers, ready to end this. Nicholas had caused too much pain, too much destruction. He didn't deserve to live. In an instant, my nails raked across Nicholas's chest, my hand moving faster than even he could react. Before he had a chance to blink, I had torn into his flesh, my claws sinking deep into his chest. And there, in my palm, I felt it, the still, warm thud of his heart, beating its last, the life drained from him almost immediately, his body crumpling to the earth in an unceremonious heap. I stood there, staring at the lifeless corpse for a moment longer than I cared to. It was satisfaction that filled me, but cold resolution. This had to be done. He had to be stopped. No more lies. No more betrayals. Without a second glance at Nicholas's fallen form, I turned to Adelina. My heart clenched as I saw her. Unconscious, sprawled on the ground. She had been through enough, more than anyone should ever endure. With a sharp breath, I crouched beside her, lifting her into my arms with a tenderness that contrasted the brutal violence I had just unleashed. I cradled her in my arms, her body limp against mine, and I could feel the weight of everything pressing on me. She was my everything, my reason for fighting. Nothing else mattered as much as her safety. My pulse quickened with urgency as I carried her to the SUV. Gently, I placed her in the passenger seat, adjusting her so she was comfortable. Before I slammed the door shut, the urgency inside me grew as I rushed to the driver's side, my hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. I took one last look at her, her features so peaceful in her unconscious state. Before I revved the engine, the tires screeched as I pressed the accelerator, the vehicle surging forward. The road ahead was a blur, but all I could think about was getting her to safety. I would keep her safe. Nothing else mattered. Adelina SPOV. When I woke up, I was immediately aware of the sterile, quiet environment around me. My eyes fluttered open, and I found myself in a hospital room. The soft hum of machines and a faint scent of antiseptic filled the air. I glanced around, and there was no one in sight. The room was eerily empty, save for a vase of white roses on the table to my right. Their delicate fragrance helped soothe the dryness in my throat. I reached for the water jar beside them, but a sharp pain shot through my hand, stopping me in my tracks. Looking down, I realized I was hooked up to an IV drip, and the sight of it made my efforts to move a little more futile. I tried again to reach the jar, but then the door opened with a soft creak. My gaze turned towards the sound, and my heart skipped a beat. There he was. Maximus stood in the doorway, his piercing grey eyes locking with mine. He looked worn. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And like he hadn't slept in days, but he was still the most striking man I had ever seen. He wore a simple t-shirt and jeans, but the fatigue etched on his face only made him more human, more real to me. Finally, you're awake. His voice a soothing balm, though it was laced with a hint of relief. As he approached, he leaned down and pressed a gentle kiss to my forehead. My heart swelled at the touch. I cleared my throat, trying to ease the dryness, but my words still came out hoarse. Could you give me a glass of water? I'm really thirsty. Of course. He replied immediately, his voice soft yet filled with care. He poured the water, his hand steady and sure as he offered it to me. The cool liquid slid down my throat, soothing the parched dryness. I asked for more, and he gladly obliged, handing me glass after glass. Each time I drank, it felt like the thirst inside me would never be quenched. But I kept going, savoring the way he treated me with such tenderness. After several glasses, I finally mustered the courage to ask the question that had been gnawing at me. Thank you. What happened? I don't remember anything after Nicholas tried to kill us. Maximus's expression darkened, and he exhaled slowly, as though recalling the events caused him a great deal of pain. When I finished with Nicholas, he began, his voice low and steady. I found you unconscious on the ground. I tried to wake you up, but you didn't respond, so I brought you here. You've been asleep for 3 days. The doctors found traces of drugs in your blood. The coffee, I whispered, the realization hitting me like a blow. Maximus nodded. I'm sure it was. The bastard must be put sleeping pills in it. I felt a wave of nausea rise in my chest, a sickening sense of betrayal. But Maximus's reassuring hand on mine immediately grounded me. Don't worry. His voice firm and soothing. He can't hurt you anymore. But what about the other attacks? Did you stop them? Did you find any of his accomplices? Maximus hesitated for a moment before answering, his jaw tight with the weight of his words. When Nicholas's death was announced, most of his accomplices surrendered to the council's guards. They know they're finished. Thank goddess. I breathed, feeling a flicker of relief. Are you sure they're not hiding somewhere? Maximus leaned closer, his gaze unwavering. Even if they are, my love, don't worry. We will catch them all. Before I could respond, a knock sounded at the door, followed by it creaking open drive. Sullivan, the hospital's physician, entered with a professional air, though his eyes softened when he saw me awake. "Good morning, Your Highness. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Bowing slightly, "How do you feel today?" "Good morning, Dr. Sullivan," I answered with a faint smile. "That's normal, considering everything your body's been through. It needs time to recover." He gave a reassuring nod. "We'll run a few more tests today, and by tomorrow, we should have the results. If all goes well, you'll be free to leave by noon." "Thank you, Dr. Sullivan. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Grateful for his professionalism, he gave me a small smile, then bowed to Maximus before exiting the room, leaving us in a quiet lull. Maximus, who had been by my side without leaving for even a moment, finally spoke, his voice taking on a more serious tone. "Adelina, we need to discuss something." "Yes, Max. Tell me." To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. My curiosity piqued. "I've been thinking a lot," he began, his eyes intense, his jaw tight, "and I've come to a conclusion. I can't leave you alone again." Not sure what he meant. "What do you mean?" "Every time I've let you out of my sight, your life's been in danger." Frustration creeping into his voice. "I can't allow that anymore. In proposing something for your safety. But how could you prevent this? We're elfish. Our position comes with risks. You can't me every second of the day." His eyes softened, but his tone remained resolute. "That's just it. You need to stop being an alpha." I blinked, stunned by his words. "What did you just say?" My voice cracked with the rising irritation in my chest. "All of this, the danger. The attacks that happened because you took on the title of Alpha for the Crescent Moon Pack," he continued, his words cutting through the air. "I can't protect you if you're constantly exposed like this." "That's not entirely true." I shot back. "I was kidnapped when I was Luna of your pact." He clenched his fists, frustration flickering in his eyes. "Yes, but you were far from me then. Too far for me to protect you. The best thing for you is to return to my pack and take on your role as Luna." "I spoke with your father. He agrees. Achia's even willing to take on the role of Alpha again until we find a replacement." I felt my blood boil. "You did what? How could you make such a decision without consulting me first?" Maximus stood firm, his gaze unwavering. "Imdiokin, I don't need anyone's approval when it comes to decisions that affect your safety." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "This is outrageous. You can't control my life like that. King or not, I will decide what I want to do." His face softened, but only slightly. "Please understand, Adelina, I'm not just your king. I'm your mate. I care for you more than you realize. Please, listen to me. The solution I'm offering is the only way forward. It's for your own safety." I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. "How modest of you." To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Sarcasm dripping from my words. Maximus's expression hardened. "Are you mocking me?" I shook my head, frustration mounting. "I know what I want. Maximus, I don't need you to decide that for me. Now, if you'd excuse me. I'm exhausted. Please, just let me rest." He hesitated, his eyes searching mine for any sign of agreement. But I stood firm. "Please, if you don't mind." His shoulders slumping in disappointment. "I'll let you rest. But please, think about whatever you said." Okay. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Almost too quickly, eager to end the conversation. "I will." Maximus nodded, his expression tight. "And with one final, lingering look." He turned and left the room, the door clicking softly behind him. I woke up early the next morning, my body feeling more rested than I'd expected after everything that had happened. The first thing I noticed was that the IV serum had been removed, and I was no longer tethered to any machines. It felt like a small victory, another step towards normalcy. With renewed energy, I slipped out of bed and went about my morning routine, though it felt strange to have resumed it after the chaos of the past few days. An hour later, there was a knock at the door. My heart leapt into my chest, and my thoughts immediately raced to Maximus. Yes, here. It has to be him. Despite the anticipation, I knew that the conversation I was about to have with him wouldn't be easy. I was going to back down this time. I would make him understand that I could make my own decisions about my life, my future, and my role. I was going to let him take control of everything anymore. Taking a deep breath, I ran my hands through my hair and checked my reflection in the mirror. I still looked awful, but at least I looked a little better than I had the past few days. I squared my shoulders, determined to stand my ground, and headed for the door. When I opened it, my stomach sank. Instead of Maximus, I was greeted by Jacob. "Oh, it's you." My voice trailed off, disappointment washing over me, but there was also a sense of relief. As much as I longed to see Maximus, I wasn't sure I was ready for that confrontation just yet. "Good morning," Jacob said, his tone laced with sarcasm. "I'm very happy to see you too, Ad." I tried to mask my confusion. "Good morning, Jacob. What brings you here so early?" Jacob raised an eyebrow, feigning offense. "Starting to feel unwanted here. Do you want me to leave?" I quickly shook my head, realizing how I must have sounded. No. I was expecting someone else." Jacob's smirk widened. "I understand. You were expecting Maximus. Weren't you?" I blinked in surprise. "How did you know?" He leaned against the doorframe with a shrug. "Maximus left last night. He didn't say a word to anyone. The guards at the airport told me." My stomach dropped. "But why? Did you fight last night?" Jacob asked, a hint of curiosity in his voice. I hesitated. "Yes. I mean, no, we did argue, but I didn't think it would lead to this. He didn't even tell me he was leaving." Jacob sighed, his expression softening with sympathy. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbe, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience and enthusiasm. I'm here to pick you up. The doctors cleared you. You're eager as new." It took me a moment to process what he was saying, but I nodded and quickly packed up my things. As we headed to the car, I felt a mix of emotions: anger. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm," and an overwhelming need to understand what had just happened. Once we were in the car, Jacob tried to steer me toward rest. "You should take it easy, Anne. Get some rest. You've been through a lot." But I couldn't. I couldn't sit in a room and stare over everything. I was tired, if anything. I felt more alive than ever. The past few days had taken their toll on me physically, but mentally, I was sharper and more determined. The energy coursing through me felt almost foreign, but in a good way. I couldn't go to my room, not when my mind was racing with questions about Maximus. Why had he left so suddenly without saying a word? Was it because of what I said yesterday? Was he angry with me for telling him to leave? I replayed our conversation in my head. His words had come from a place of care. I knew that much. But his decisions, his need to control everything about my life had felt suffocating. He acted as though I couldn't think for myself, as if I were incapable of making my own choices. How could he not see that? But even so, there was a part of me that wondered, was I being too harsh? Did he leave because of my anger? Or was there something more to it? It didn't make sense, and I didn't know how to make sense of it. Maximus had always been the man who'd come through for me in times of need. Yet now, he was gone. My thoughts swirled, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something important was missing, something I had to understand before I could move forward. Why had he left without a word? And why did I feel like part of me was missing now that he was gone?